I am carrying a weapon, I am licensed to carry it. But in this dynamic where first you're pepper sprayed, then you're dragged to the ground with law enforcement that could be de-escalating the situation, but has chosen to escalate it markedly, now you're in a situation where you're about to be arrested and you're struggling. You know, when that gun becomes a factor there, which somebody spots it and says, gun, 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 and then you see someone removes that gun from the melee and gets it a safe distance away, and then after the individual has been disarmed, Mr. Preddy, a gun goes off and shoots him. Now, we don't know if that was an accidental discharge after he was disarmed or that was a purposeful shot. But either way, by now we are deep into a set of flawed tactics. When the gun was removed, did the agent who removed it call it out? I've got the weapon, I'm moving out. Were they still under the impression it was there? This was very tactically flawed and ended that way because of it.
Brad Todd, you have spent years around, trying to elect Republican candidates. Many of these groups that are pro-Second Amendment are a very important piece of, coalition that a Republican will try to put together if they're elected. It's been really a litmus test issue on the right. And to have that, attorney say that out loud and to have Bovino say what he said, I want to bring back a tweet from Charlie Kirk in 2018. He says this: the Second Amendment is not for hunting, it's not for self-protection. It is there to ensure that free people can defend themselves if, God forbid, government became tyrannical and turned against its citizens. And I think a lot of people are pointing to this because, what we saw in the streets.
If the Second Amendment says that you have the right to keep and bear arms, which means you can have it anywhere you are legally and lawfully allowed to be, unless you've proven to be a threat to yourself or others already. I think you also have to go back to what Kristi Noem said yesterday, that he was brandishing the weapon. That's absolutely not true. Unless it happened before in the video we saw it, then he was not brandishing the weapon. And that's a pretty key fact of how law enforcement are going to treat you. Now, he did have a right to be carrying in the time. It is inadvisable to be engaging with law enforcement while you are carrying, unless you're going to be telling them up front that you have a permit and you are carrying. So that's inadvisable. It doesn't get you shot. The penalty for doing something inadvisable should not be to get you shot. However, when you introduce a gun to a confrontation with the law enforcement officers, and you introduce that before you get there, you have to be aware of the fact that that changes their calculus and risk.
I think two things. One, thank God there was video. And there is video from multiple angles, because what we have seen from this administration is that what they said happened did not actually happen. And we have video to prove it because we can see it with our own eyes. But I also think it's the hypocrisy of this particular incident compared with other things that have historically happened. This is an administration that has defended Kyle Rittenhouse. I worked in the Obama White House and worked on the Philando Castile murder when he had a permit to carry and was murdered by a police officer in his car in front of his child and his fiance. So there seems to sometimes be it is convenient when it is one set of facts and inconvenient when there's another set of facts. And I think that is the backdrop that maybe everyone isn't talking about, but plenty of people are feeling like this administration is not only lying, but is playing two sides of the fence.
Well, every gun rights group came out against those comments yesterday, and including every gun influencer. I know Tom Gresham, Cam Edwards, people who are Stephen Gukowski, people who are prominent voices in the gun rights community. I think that was universal.
But this administration didn't.
I want to play a little bit of what a couple of administration officials said about this. Kristi Noem and Scott Bessent. Let's watch.
I am sorry that this gentleman is dead, but he did bring a 9mm semi-automatic weapon with 2 cartridges to what was supposed to be a peaceful protest. I've been to a protest. Yeah. Guess what? I didn't bring a gun. I brought a billboard.
I don't know of any peaceful protester that shows up with a gun and ammunition rather than a sign.
Mark Short, you're shaking your head.
Well, look, the Second Amendment doesn't have an asterisk that says you can't bring an bring weapon to a protest, particularly if you have a concealed carry permit. But to the point of the inconsistency, there were 3,000 rounds of ammunition confiscated by Secret Service on January 6th. There were 180 weapons, deadly weapons, confiscated that we've been told was a peaceful protest. Mm-hmm. So I think that the Second Amendment applies, that you're allowed to bring a weapon to a truly peaceful protest. And in this case, we don't even know that this was necessarily a protest. So I don't